We'll move into Atisha's Contemplations on Death. The first contemplation. Everybody dies. I want you to think about every single individual who you've ever met, whether they're friends, whether they are foe. Recall their faces. Go through them one by one. And as you contemplate in this way, remember, they too must die, as this body must also die. It is an inescapable fact for the entire kingdom of life. All those who are beloved to you, it's just part of the truth of life. One day you must be separated. When we say everybody, we mean not just human life, every single sentient being everywhere in the universe. Whether it's the smallest microbe, or whether it's the size of an elephant. Some people derive a feeling of consolation. Okay, one day my body will die, but so what? Tomorrow the sun will still rise and the game of life will continue. Birds will still sing in the trees in the morning. Children will laugh and play. There will be fights and quarrels, anger, sadness and disappointment, and joy and love. But the game of life at least continues. Some people derive consolation also that, okay, my own life is ending, but my children, they will continue, as will future generations. But this is a short-sighted view. In 8 billion years, our own sun will exhaust its nuclear fuel. Eventually, the earth will become a dead planet, inhospitable for life. Not only our sun, but all suns must inevitably exhaust their nuclear fuel. This is a death sentence for all sentient life. All suns will eventually be reduced to black holes, just sucking in and destroying everything in its path. Even these black holes too have a life cycle. They will eventually deteriorate, leaving behind only particles. And even with those particles, there will take place particle degeneration, leaving behind, in the end, absolutely nothing. Nothing is spared from the law of impermanence. So can you make peace? Don't take this lightly. Can you make peace not just with your own death, but the death of all sentient life everywhere in the cosmos? You might think to yourself, oh, that's a very, very long time before this happens. But as you're going through the process of dying, and once life has left the body, what is billions of years? It's absolutely nothing. Seems like a long time when you're awake and healthy and alive. But for the dead, the moment one leaves the body, assuming there's no continuity of consciousness, that's also possible. But let's take a worse scenario. Nothing continues. The book is closed. The chapter has been written. Once life leaves the body, 1,000 millions, billions universes flash and disappear faster than the blink of an eye. So these consolations, oh, it will be a very long time till the extinction of life takes place, are fundamentally meaningless. Make peace here and now, while you're still young, healthy, and with your intelligence intact. Think of the most beautiful creature imaginable to you, whatever it is, and know it too will die. Think of the most grotesque, disgusting, abhorrent creature to you, and know this too will die. Time simply marches forward, crushing everything in its path, makes no exceptions. Which brings us to the next point. Death will come, whether you're prepared or unprepared. Either way, in the end, it is the same. Consider the possibility if you're prepared. No, sorry. Let's do the other one first. Consider the possibility if you're not prepared. Lying down on your deathbed. The body is failing, a feeling of weakness, fatigue in the body. The internal organs are shutting down. You may have in urinating or defecating on yourself. And as time moves forward, even to breathe becomes more and more fragile and difficult. And if you're unprepared, if you don't know how to let go, the dying process can be filled with anguish, regret, fear, tremendous uncertainty. Think of the conditioning day by day by day. There's this automatic assumption tomorrow is coming. Put yourself in that place. The present moment will appear exactly as it appears right now, with the same immediacy. And now the future is completely uncertain. And because all of one's life, one has been insensitive, preoccupied, too preoccupied with non-essentials, you're not prepared to handle this reality. Nevertheless, like it or dislike it, the body is no longer a suitable vehicle for life. Body grows weaker and weaker. If there was fear and panic, life doesn't even have enough energy to support the fear. Confusion, disorientation takes over as the identity is slowly melting and fading away. You want to resist, but it's too late. You're unprepared. What will be the last intelligible thought if one is unprepared? And the final thought is released from the mind, and it's over. The book is closed. Even if you derive consolation from ideas of reincarnation or afterlife, you should know this specific entity you call Matt or Alex has finished. Whatever continues, that entity is a thing of the past. Don't assume anything will continue. That's a hypothesis. Can you make peace with what seems to be a worst-case scenario? Now consider the other side of the coin. You return to your deathbed Now death is coming, but you are prepared. The same weakness consumes the body, but it makes no difference to the lucidity of awareness. It continues burning bright and radiant like the sun. And you're losing the sensation of the body, no longer feeling the legs, the arms, the entire body becomes numb. But still, the lucidity of awareness continues. And because you've lived life so sensitively, moment by moment, you've learned an art of letting go. Time marches forward. You're losing slowly contact with the body. And once again, the last intelligible thought takes place in the mind. And you say, "Thank you." And the book is closed. Either way, prepared or unprepared, death will certainly come. Maybe on your deathbed you will be surrounded by loved ones. If you have the luxury to die in a deathbed, they may offer their love and consolations. But what is their love and consolation in the face of the great unknown which you are now slowly approaching? Ultimately, at the end, what are you left with? You're alone, with nothing but your own mind and its karmas. Whatever is there, you are fully responsible. If you die in misery, it's your doing. If you die with joy, grace and gratitude, it's also one's own doing. No one else in this world, except you, has been given your experience of birth in the body, and nobody else except you will be provided with your experience of leaving the body. In this sense, you've always been completely alone. Have courage, accept the responsibility. In the end, what will matter is inevitably. Whether you really know what it means to love, and if you will die with the wisdom of who you are, who you truly are, even a small taste of that is worth striving for. The next contemplation. At the time of death, your material resources cannot help you. Think of everything you've physically been dependent on, coming down to your clothes, the roof over your head, shelter, your bank account, which has provided much comfort, the wealth, all set aflame. In the end, they are meaningless. In the face of the great unknown, they are just nothing. Yes, they can provide during life some amount of comfort and convenience. Makes this world a more pleasant place in its own way. But in the face of death, they are paralyzed, completely paralyzed. They may even surpass your body. The body can be set aflame and cremated, or buried in the earth, becoming food for worms and maggots. But all those material objects may surpass the existence of your body. And what do they mean if there's no body here to enjoy them? The next point, the human body is fragile. You live day after day with this impression of the strength and sturdiness of the body. But no, it's literally true. Your life is hanging by the breath. What's the breath? Just a small push and a small pull. The inhale after the exhale. Where will your body be without the next inhale? take the health in the body for granted. Death surrounds you in all corners, completely unpredictable. Just to live is risky business. It's bound to be so. Everywhere in the universe, mostly, it is inhospitable for life. Now here's a small piece of earth which is supported for life. So of course, you're surrounded by risks. You don't even know if the next moment is coming. Some people are perfectly healthy. They go to sleep. They are otherwise healthy, but they die in their sleep. A mystery. This body has no independence. That's why it's so fragile. Contemplate on the fragility of the body. What we're exploring here are not philosophical contemplations. They're not hypotheses. They're not belief systems. They're absolute certainties. Complementary to this insight of the fragility of the body, the next contemplation. The causes of death are many. You're just walking casually up the stairs. In a moment of inattention, you slip, fall over, you break your neck. Went out to a restaurant, otherwise celebrating and joyful, enjoyed a good meal. But on that same night you have been poisoned. It's your last night on the earth. You go to see a doctor. I think everything is well. The doctor reveals to you, you have only a few weeks left to live, as there is a rapidly spreading cancer that is fatal. Or you're just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Somebody holds you up in the street, you get mugged, there's a quarrel, takes out a knife, plunges it in your abdomen, you fall on the ground, slowly bleeding, the life being drained out of you, staring at the black sky. Or you die a natural death. Live to ripe old age, having seen so much, and slowly let the body do what it does. It knows how to die. If you can let go in the experience, the dying process is intended to make the transition from the body as simple and graceful and as easy as possible. This is why the brain releases tremendous endorphins. Some people report seeing visions, benevolent, peaceful deities. Who knows, maybe the brain manufactures a fantasy of what you think you're going to experience at the time of death. And it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. Some people in a near-death experience travel down a tunnel of white light. They see a being at the end of that light. If they're a Christian, they may see Jesus. If they're a Buddhist, they may see Buddha. If they're a Hindu, they may be Shiva or some other identification, maybe the Egyptian god Thoth or Horus. How do you explain these differences? The mind projects what it is identified with. These are your own mental projections. There's millions and millions of ways to die. In the end, ultimately, it's the same. The best way to die is as a meditative experience. A last hurrah in superconsciousness. Without attachment and without craving. And the truth is, because we live in a culture where this education is not fostered, to contemplate on the significance of death, most people are unprepared and not trained. They just experience the dying process randomly. Whatever comes, comes. As a yogi, you strive to transform everything into an alchemy, even the process of dying. All of this reflects on a simple question: how am I to live in this world? For the way that you die is a precise reflection of the way you have lived. We manufacture our own hells, we manufacture our own heavens. It's all you're doing. The next contemplation. The human life expectancy is uncertain. In this world, it's not a given that the elder die. Later, many times the youth dies earlier than the elderly. There's no cosmic law that says the old have to die sooner. Visualize yourself going through many stages of life. From infancy, and know death could have struck at any moment, to childhood, to adulthood, 20 years have already passed, to later adulthood, the 30s, 40s. See yourself aged. How the body has changed as it has moved with the rhythm of time. And all this while, nowhere is there a commandment from the cosmos that says, tomorrow you have to wake up in the morning. This has always been the case. It's happened to millions of people who've died suddenly before ripe old age. What makes you an exception? You're not an exception. Your ego would like it to be otherwise. All you have is the moment. And regardless of time and regardless of age, know that the present moment will appear exactly the same, with the same immediacy. 50 years, 60 years of age. If you're lucky, 75 years. By the time you're just 35, you've almost half of your life is done. It's so brief. Look back in time. Think back when you were 5 years of age. And now look at you. How fast time has flashed. If you live long enough to old age, on your deathbed, ready to leave this world, you will also be surprised how time has flashed like lightning. Just a few decades. There's no reversing the arrow of time. It only moves forward. And in this movement forward, there are indeed many, many causes of death. You can be a health fanatic. Some people, they live recklessly. They smoke, they consume alcohol, indulging in all kinds of pleasures without a care in the world. And they live abusing the body till ripe old age. Genes of longevity. And some people, they do all the work, following right kind of diet, eating pure foods, exercise, and still, life is not prolonged for them. They die earlier than someone with genes of longevity. They may help, nothing is guaranteed, that's for sure. All these realities, if you do not contemplate on them day by day, something will settle in you, a dark insensitivity. As if the world has been created for your sake. Seize the moment. For all that you know, all that you have is the shortness of the moment. With a fuller knowledge of death, with the right understanding, life will turn into a blessing. Death will become a blessing. Death will be your guru. Every night before you go to sleep, one of the most beneficial things you can do is just to say thank you. Thank you for the morning. Thank you for the evening. There's no God to listen. Nobody may be listening, but still say thank you. Thank you for the breath. Some people worship the sun. How many people worship the breath? Your body depends on the breath, just as it depends on the sun. As you grow older and older, there will be warning signs that your time is coming. Your old friends are slowly dying, one by one. Maybe you've already had to deal with the grief, the loss of your family members. Each loss is a reminder. We're all in the waiting line. The line is getting shorter and shorter. But the more long-lasting relationships you form, you'll have these signs and clues and reminders to be awake. If you've nurtured your relationship well, one day you will be at your mother's funeral. See yourself there. The casket is open. Your mother's body is visible. What will be your mental state? Maybe thinking about all the times you could have expressed love, but you were wasteful with your energies on all kinds of toxic emotions. On the gravestone, the date of birth, the date of death. There's just you left with the earth. All you will have are the memories, like ghosts in your mind. Prepare and make peace. Whatever you hold dear to you, inevitably you must be separated. Every day, at least once, contemplate on the 5 remembrances. As it's the nature of change, one day the body must grow old. As it's the nature of change, one day the body must grow ill, sickness and disease. As is the nature of change, one day the body must die. The 4th remembrance, we've already discussed this, as is the nature of change, I must one day be separated from everything I've come to love. And finally, a call to action. I and I alone am responsible for my actions and their consequences. if you postpone these contemplations, if you postpone these matters, you're running a very high risk of being unprepared to leave the body. There's something else you must make peace with. Up until your final breath, you will never know what lies beyond death of the body. You can believe in fantasies, but the truth is you'll never know. Can you make peace with your own ignorance? You can make peace with your own ignorance. This liberation is yours. In fact, the more your wisdom grows through the process of life, there will come an increasing sense, more and more, that you know nothing. It's one of the highest expressions of wisdom. What Socrates has said, all that I know is that I know nothing. Mind of non-attachment also involves non-attachment to knowledge itself. You must release knowledge. And to know that you do not know is okay. That's the freshness of a beginner's mind. It's like a living death. So it's for good reason. The old sages and yogis said, existence is Maya. It's like a dream. Illusory. And if you see life through the illusion of the ego, and if you know this ego is an illusion, then everything that's seen through that lens is also an illusion. So the life that's known through ego is an illusion. It's made of the stuff of dreams, without a substantial reality. So to let go of the belief in your identity, this is the real death. And ask yourself, how addicted are you to control? Almost everybody in this world is addicted to being in control. If you cannot release this addiction, the process of dying will be a nightmare. So if there's a message I want you to retain in the mind from this contemplation, it's to know the value of letting go. This is traveling down the path of love. To truly liberate yourself from fear of death, you must learn the ways of love. You can't live your life with a closed heart. That's a surefire way not only to experience unnecessary suffering in life, but to turn death also into an experience of unnecessary suffering. So forge a new path for yourself. And let the knowledge of death illuminate this path. This is holistic living. And it's just the way the human mind works. If the value of everything becomes infinite, you become ungrateful. Currency is worthless if it's in unlimited number. Similarly, if you had forever to live, unless you're extremely, extremely wise, you'll grow insensitive to life, insensitive to everything. Where's the incentive to drink as much of the nectar of the moment Be grateful to death. Remember something. Everything you do exclusively for your own ego, for your own narrow self. You take that with you to the grave. What you can do to uplift the human condition, to leave behind a legacy, whatever that is, it doesn't have to be fireworks. That continues beyond death of the body. This is how we can be truly resourceful with our lives. Enhance our own well-being, and let our own well-being become a shining light in a world filled with darkness and sickness and disorder. Every day remind yourself, today is my first day and my last. Every day it's your first day and your last. This is how to be sensitive. Now, in silence, I leave you to your own contemplations. Draw from your own subjectivity. Trust the stream of consciousness and follow the trail wherever it may lead.